Hi, I'm Nick. I'm from California, the United States. I'm living in Mallorca at the moment and just traveling around for the summer.
For how long have you been slacklining now?
I'd like to think that when I was in the womb inside my mother, that I was slacklining on the umbilical cord. So, no, for the last 3 years I've been practicing slacklining.
What do you do if you don't slackline?
If I don't slackline, I like to spend my time going rock climbing, bouldering. I'd like to spend a lot of time outside. Um, Recently, I've been doing a lot of sewing, hand sewing, and like making small presents for people out of fabric and hand sewing. I
Okay.
like to listen to music, things like this.
Okay. I saw you yesterday when it was really windy on the High Line.
Yeah.
Does the wind make it more difficult or easier?
For doing freestyle, which is my discipline of slacklining, it can make the tricks really difficult to control. When the wind is happening, it can actually like eliminate the bounce, which is sort of the blood of a trick. It's the life of the trick. When you have a bounce, you have a lot of movement and motion, and if the wind comes, it can stop this momentum. For walking on a long slack line or a long high line, it's actually very nice to have consistent wind. But if the wind is like starting and stopping, it can make it challenging and fun, because if the slack line starts to oscillate in the wind, you now have a whole new challenge. It's not just walking, it's controlling this kind of like wind snake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere said that the wind doesn't really bother him because he has something to lean onto.
Nice. He would say that.
Yeah,
He is like a slacklining wizard.
yeah. What's your favorite trick on the line?
Thanks so much for asking. My favorite trick on the line right now, it's called the Darth Vader. The Darth Vader. It's a trick that my cousin Ian invented. It begins bouncing. You can begin bouncing facing the anchor or in exposure, which means you're looking towards the view and the line is perpendicular underneath your feet. You bounce, and then you drop down into a position called rocket, which is where you let the line come up to you. You grab it, you go underneath the line, you wait, you let your legs ride down, and when gravity pulls your legs down, you do a kick backwards. And then you do kind of a kipping motion where you kick forwards, but not too far forwards. So you want to generate what we call a pop that accelerates your body upwards. And then you do an under the line front flip with one hand, you release, you let the line come up, and you bring it to your feet. So it would look like this. You switch the wrist and you bring it to your feet, and landing again back on your feet. It feels really good, and it's my favorite trick because at one point it felt very impossible. Now I can do it easily, and I want to explore this trick more in the variations that exist with this trick.
Okay. How old is the oldest slackliner you know of?
Well, the oldest one that I know of, I think now is probably in his early 60s. Um, his name is Scott Balcom, or maybe even earlier than that, a man named Chongo, who lives in Yosemite, and he like makes his own clothing and lives in a cave or something. But the oldest person that I personally know is 57 or 58. Her name is Cheryl. She lives in America, and she learned to slackline in her 50s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I will be the oldest slackliner.
Of course. um, as we've seen today here with the kids training, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of will to do the same routine over and over and over again until finally, eventually it works. But in between, we've seen so many people today falling off the line. So would you say slacklining is in any way dangerous? What's the worst thing that happened to you when slacklining?
Yes, I think slacklining can be dangerous.
Okay.
But I also think that we take lots of risks every day, crossing the street, brushing our teeth. But yeah, people falling. It's good that we have the pads here. We're very, very happy to have the pads and the soft ground. I think the worst thing that's ever happened to me on a slackline would be maybe like falling in a very uncomfortable position and the line catches me between the legs and I have to take a break and collect myself. But no, I generally think slacklining is very safe. I think the difficult part is managing the tension of a line. You see that we have locks placed on the ratchets so that if there's any problem with the tension, the lock would stop, or we've backed up the slack lines so that the ratchet doesn't fly off and hit someone if there is a problem. I actually did dislocate my finger once when I was highlining, but that would be on a high line in a different scenario.
Okay. So you're going to be here for a couple of more days,
I'll be here until the 18th.
and after the shows on the High Line, people find you here giving workshops
Yes.
for really talented people and for all the rest of it. But Thea is really a natural talent.
Soon to be
Soon to be on the High Line.
on the high line. I think the potential of a freestyle performer is in Tia's future for sure. She's got good control of the line and she seems to really enjoy it, which is the most important part. I think she's really happy to be slacklining. And her brother also is showing a lot of really strong potential and enthusiasm, which that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Nice for
thank
having you.
Frank. Of course.